Call the meeting to order. Rodney, you have an announcement?
I'm sorry, I'm also admitting people into the meeting here. Yes, so I just wanted to speak about future meetings. In June, we will have the option for people to come in to the meeting. And we are still encouraging people to participate remotely. The challenge will be we still have to maintain 6 feet of distance. So if everybody from the commission comes in at the same time, we'll have to have some people sitting down on the floor. And we're still going to need to stream it because of people who are uncomfortable coming to the meeting. So we'll still stream our meetings until further notice. And we'll still do Microsoft Teams, and we'll encourage developers and applicants to There we go. So we'll still do that, but if you would like to come in, you're welcome to come in. We just need to know in advance. So when we send out the notice, I just need you to respond and tell me if you're going to be coming into the meeting and participating in person. And we will we're trying to come up with a plan for how to handle all the participants who come in, those who want to testify in person. They will be able to, but we're still going to have to manage how many people come into the room, what they do, where they sit, if they sit at all. So we're working on that and putting together that plan, but I just wanted you to be aware of that in case you wanted to participate in person in the future.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have the minutes from the May 12th meeting.
I'll make a motion we approve the minutes.
Okay. Motioned by Brett and second by Matt?
Yep.
Oh, good, I can. Okay, all those in favor? We're gonna do the roll call vote as we've done in the past. Steve?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Brett?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
And Ron?
Ron is absent.
Ron is absent, okay. All right, the minutes are now approved. Do we have a report on council actions?
There's no one here.
Randy did accept it. Councilman Haverfield did accept it. I don't see him that he's responded though.
Oh, yeah, he wants to the chat.
Well, he's showing as not in the meeting, but I know he got it. So.
Okay, so, all right, we'll just head on to the first business item, the final plat approval for Spring Shores number 1.
Okay, hold on a second. Get my screen to where I need to be. All right, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. The action requested from you tonight is a recommendation of approval or denial of the Spring Shores Subdivision Number 1 final plat. This project is comprised of 30.17 acres and proposed to be platted into 93 buildable and 6 common lots east of Franklin Boulevard, west of 11th Avenue North Extension, and north of Cherry Lane. This property is located inside the city limits and is zoned RS 8.5. It's bordered on the north and south by Canyon County residential properties and on the east and west by city RS zoned properties. The east properties being future phases of this same subdivision. The annexation and zoning to RS 8.5 was approved in May of 2006, and the ordinance and development agreement were recorded in June of 2006. The preliminary plat was revised to meet current standards and approved in October of 2019. The findings of fact in this case are that it is located within the city limits in an RS 8.5 zone. It conforms to the approved preliminary plat layout, and it conforms to the applicable subdivision and zoning standards for Nampa. There were no other comments received by this department after the staff report was submitted to you. So staff feels that it is appropriate for this commission to recommend approval of the final plat for Spring Shore Subdivision Number 1 to City Council with the conditions as listed in the staff report and any other conditions you see fit to impose tonight. I will stand for any questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Christy? Okay, hearing none, I will stand for a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve final plat for Spring Shores Number 1, east of Meriwether subdivision between Cherry Lane and Eustis Road for 93 buildable single-family lots on 30.17 acres. For Heartland Townhomes Property Management with all conditions of staff in the staff report.
Okay, is this Jeff?
Yes.
Okay, Jeff made the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, I didn't get who made the second.
Steve.
Okay, Steve made the second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept recommend the final plat approval. All those in favor? Steve?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Brett?
Aye.
And Tom?
Aye.
Okay, that carries. Alrighty. And we got 2 minutes until public hearing time. So is everybody testifying in the meeting now, Rodney?
What do you mean by that?
Are they all these different names and phone numbers that are popped up on the screen here?
So what I would recommend is that you just go down that list we provided you, and then if it's their turn, they can unmute their phones by hitting *6 and just participate when you call their name. I'm not sure, we've had quite a few in the past that just don't, either they sign up and then sometimes they don't come to the actual meeting.
Okay.
So I'd recommend you just call their name out and see if they respond.
Okay, so I have the same person for numbers 1 and 2, and then a whole list of people for number 3 and nobody for number 4.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes?
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure where you were at in the agenda.
Who is speaking?
This is Don Christensen. I'm signed up to speak on agenda item number 3.
Okay, we're just getting ready to start public hearing for number 1 at 7 o'clock.
Oh, okay, no problem. I just wanted to be sure I was online. Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. Okay, I have 7 o'clock, so we're gonna go to public hearing item number 1. rezone from RS6 PUD to RS to facilitate previous approval of the 12 two-unit single-family residential attached townhome lots. And we have Christie on this.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Christy Watkins, planner with the City of Nampa. The action required from you tonight, sorry, let me get this, there we go. The action required from you tonight is a recommendation to City Council for the approval of the zoning map amendment from RS6 PUD to RS6 to facilitate your previous approval of a single-family residential attached townhome development known as Meadowlark Place. The property is currently zoned RS6 PUD and is surrounded on all sides by RS6 zoned properties. So this property was annexed in May of 1999 and the PUD overlay was in place and the preliminary plat based on the PUD concept was approved in November of 2006. The PUD code states that if the applicant fails to apply for final approval of development plans within 2 years of those preliminary development, when they were submitted and approved, then those plans expire. In this case, the PUD overlay was implemented via an ordinance, and so it needs to an act of a rezone to remove that ordinance. Through research of the staff report for the CUP and the preliminary plat that was approved in April, it was discovered that the ordinance implementing the PUD needed to be removed to allow for the new layout of the preliminary plat for Meadowlark Place. This removal became a condition of approval for the CUP and the preliminary plat and brings us to this action tonight. And Peggy, we forgot to let the applicant present.
We're just used to business items for some reason.
So I'll finish what I'm saying and then they can present and,
yes,
and follow up with questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry. The findings of fact in this case show that the property is within city limits, zoned RS6 PUD, and they are requesting RS6. The rezone of the subject property to RS6 is reasonably necessary in order to allow the applicant to use the property as they previously proposed. The rezone of the subject property to RS6 is in the interest of the property owner, and it conforms to the adopted comprehensive plan designation of medium density residential. The conditional use permit and the preliminary plat were approved on April 28, 2020, and that set forth the conditions for improvements to the property, and that removes the need for the requirements of the planned unit development that was proposed in November of 2006, which has since expired. This action is required to remove the PUD overlay that was in place on the property via Ordinance 3633 in November of 2006.
So
the Nampa building, sorry?
This is basically housekeeping stuff that we're voting on then.
It really is, yeah.
Okay.
The Nampa Building and Engineering Departments submitted their standard comments. There was some public input provided in written form in your staff report from one member of the public. And I believe that someone has signed up to speak this evening.
Yes, I have one person.
Okay. So should the commission choose to recommend the approval of the rezone request to City Council, staff recommends the conditions which are listed in the staff report and reflect the same conditions that were applied to the previous Meadowlark Place development approvals. So the actions again required from you this evening are the recommendation of approval of the request to rezone from RS6 PUD to RS to facilitate the previous approval of the 12 two-unit single-family residential attached townhome development within that subdivision known as Meadowlark Place. I will stand for any questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Christy at this time? Okay, we'll go to the applicant and we'll, since we're out of order, and we'll let the deals tell us their side of the story.
This is Katie Deal, and I think Christy basically, she did all the technical talking, but really we're just requesting that we can clean up the property and, like you said, do some housekeeping. So other than that, I don't really have anything else.
So no other changes, it's just to get the zoning correct.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for the applicant?
Hey, Peggy, you need to ask Katie to put her address on the record.
Oh, okay. Katie, can you state your name and address for the record, please?
Katie Deal, 15777 Quartz Lane, Wilder, Idaho, 83676.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant? Okay, hearing none, we'll open the public hearing. And I have, go back to my other screen. On my sign-up sheet, I have a Marianne Montgomery that would like to speak against the rezone. Is Marianne online? Rodney, do you know if she is in the group?
I didn't see her name come up, but I also saw several phone numbers. If she is on and she's trying to get unmuted, she needs to hit *6 on her phone.
I have a written statement that it was sent to, with all the stuff that Doug sent. It says she's opposed to the duplexes that will devalue the neighboring properties and concerns about traffic. Those were her concerns.
Concerns about what?
Devaluing property values and traffic issues.
Oh, I thought you said fracking.
No fracking allowed in the city.
No tracking.
I could certainly call her and see if she wants to get on, but that might take a minute. So you let me know what you would like to do there.
Well, we know what she's opposed to, but our rezoning doesn't impact any of those issues, because that was decided at the last meeting. We approved it, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so we have her on the record. I think that's adequate, unless somebody disagrees with me. Okay. So is there anybody else that wants to speak for or against or undecided about this proposal? Okay, hearing none, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
Madam Chair, before you do that, I have a question for Christie.
Okay, Christie.
Christie, I assume this has not gone to City Council yet, that correct?
No, it goes in a month.
A month?
Yeah, 4 weeks. You guys are usually 4 weeks apart.
Okay. Thank you. So I had to ask.
You're welcome.
Back to you, Madam Chair.
I make a motion to close public hearing. This is Jeff.
Thank you,
I'll
Jeff.
second.
And that was Brett?
Yes.
I'm going to get good at recognizing voices here. Okay, motioned and seconded to close public hearing. All those in favor? Steve?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Brett?
Aye.
And Tom?
Aye.
Okay, public hearing is closed. What do you guys want to do? Nobody wants to do anything with this?
Madam
I'm sure
Chair,
we-
I think since we
Go ahead.
did approve this at our last meeting, I would go ahead and make the recommendation to City Council that we amend the zoning map from RSPUD to RS6 at 1400 West Roosevelt for lots 1, 2, 3, Block 1, and a portion of vacated South Boundary Street for the plat of Town and Country Estates for Katie Deal with all conditions of staff.
I'll second.
Okay, so that was Matt with the motion and Adam with the second?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, Steve,
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Adam, Jeff,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
and Tom.
Aye.
Okay, that is going on to City Council. Now we're on to public hearing item number 2, modification of a development agreement for a 48-unit senior housing development. Do we have the applicant in the meeting?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead and tell us what give us your name and address for the record and tell us what you want to do.
My name is Blake Wolf. I live at 843 West Horizon Way here in Nampa. I bought this approximately 6-acre parcel earlier this year. It was already zoned to RP. The previous owners had a proposed senior housing project on it containing 48 units. It also had a development agreement attached to it. My understanding of the way development agreements work is they run with the land. Therefore, when you step in like I have and purchase it, if you want to do anything else, you modify it, you don't get rid of it. That's my understanding. And that's what I'm here for tonight. I'm proposing more of a housing-like project of duplexes with 2-car garages on every unit. There'll be 22 lots done in 2 phases. You'll look more like the surrounding properties, but have a little bit higher density. I imagine the project will be start to finish from about now until a year from now until we're built out. This is just part of the steps to continue on with that project. And my density is actually less than the current DA states or that they have with theirs. And it's substantially less than the RP zoning will allow as a whole. That's it. Any questions?
I have several questions. This is Steve.
Okay.
Steve.
Go ahead, Steve.
Okay. On the draft layout that was done for 4/15/2020, I believe it shows 2 entrances out onto Roosevelt. Is that correct?
That is correct. It'll be kind of a horseshoe street, city street throughout, curb, sidewalk, gutter on both sides.
Okay. And another question on the lots number 10 through 17, at least, maybe even 18, but at least 10 through 17, that backs up to a very steep embankment to a canal. Will you fence off that embankment, or what will you do with that?
I believe that is required, but yes, we will either way.
Okay.
If you look up and down the drain on any subdivision that's a dozen years old or new, or they're all fenced off, and I believe that coincides with the development.
Well, but sometimes the fence is 10 feet from the canal and sometimes it's right on the canal. But since there's no designated pathway, I would like to see it right at the edge of the canal, just so that the fence doesn't fall into the canal.
Sure. Yeah, the property lines actually go to the center of that drain. So on this concept you're looking at, it's kind of hard to show exactly where the embankment starts and stops.
But you will do that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions I had.
Anybody else have any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I do. This is Matt.
Okay, Matt?
Hey, Blake, who gets the car that's buried in the embankment of the drain?
Is there one there?
Yeah, it's like a halfway buried car. It's in the ditch bank. I don't know if you can see it from your side, but on the other side, when you're walking on the greenbelt, you can see it. Pretty funny.
Interesting. Well, you can have it, Matt.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Sorry.
You have to get it yourself though, Matt.
Gosh. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, we'll hear from city staff.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Christy Watkins again, planner for the City of Nampa. The action required from you tonight is a recommendation to City Council on the modification of development agreement for the property located at 1910 Roosevelt Avenue between Midland Boulevard and Middleton Road on the north side of Roosevelt. This new development agreement will replace the agreement that was recorded with ordinance number 3884 and would replace the original concept for a senior living development with a 44-unit single-family townhome subdivision. The property is currently zoned RP and is surrounded by our city RS6 zoned properties. The RP zone allows for duplexes and townhomes without any other entitlements to allow that use. However, in this case, a development agreement already exists for the different layout and needs to be modified for this newly proposed one. The comprehensive plan land use designation is medium density residential. The proposed townhome development fits within the allowed density for this designation. The allowable density is 2.5 to 8 units per acre, and this development is proposing 7.8 units per acre. In September of 2008, the property was annexed and zoned to RP with a development agreement for a business park. In October of 2009, a development agreement modification was approved for a senior living development. The previous concept for this area proposed the senior living community with 2 buildings, parking, landscaping, and reserved space for future development. The new concept proposes 22 structures with 44 attached single-family units within those structures. Each unit is intended to be individually owned. The subdivision of the lots into 44 units will come before you later as a preliminary plat. Here's just a couple of examples of the elevations that he is proposing. So this is the 2-story one, and this is the single-story option. There were comments provided by the Nampa Building Department, the Parks Department, the Engineering Division, indicating that conditions will likely be forthcoming on the preliminary plat and for future permitting for the buildings on the property. The developer has indicated that he will work with the Parks and Engineering Department to come up with a suitable solution for the sidewalk construction. The area on Roosevelt is kind of unique because of the Wilson Drain that runs through there. And so they're going to discuss how that 10-foot sidewalk may or may not make sense at this time, but we will defer to engineering for that decision. There was one letter from a concerned citizen received at the time of the staff report that is included in your packet. And I believe that one person has signed up to speak. And I think it was the same person from last time, so I'm not sure that she will be online, but it's the same comment applies to both because they're only about 1,000 feet apart.
Yep, it's exactly the same comment.
So should the commission choose to approve this application, staff recommends the following conditions. Provide a new development agreement with legal descriptions, concept plan, and elevations for the proposed structures. Work with Parks and Engineering on the sidewalk or side path size and location along Roosevelt Avenue, and other standard conditions of approval, and any other that you may see fit to impose tonight. Excuse me. I will stand for any questions.
Any questions for Christy? Okay, hearing none, I will go ahead and open the public hearing. We have one person signed up And that was, again, Mary Ann Montgomery. And her notes were she's opposed to duplexes, she's concerned about traffic and decrease in property values. Is there anybody else that would like to speak for, against, or undecided on this?
Peggy, this is Rodney. I did admit somebody into the meeting, so I'm not sure if that was the one who wanted to testify or not. So
Okay. If Mary Ann is here, if she will unmute herself, she's got the floor. Don't hear Mary Ann. So I would entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So moved. Mr. Chair.
Is there a
Second.
sec- And that was Brett?
Yep.
Jeff, motion, Brett, second. All right. All those in favor, Steve?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just in my packet, in with the application for the property on Dooley Lane, there was a letter from a Robert Buxton concerning the duplexes on Roosevelt. Did you have that one, or do we have Robert on the line, or?
There's nobody by that name signed up on the sign-up sheet to speak.
Well, I don't know how I have it on the wrong package, but the wrong area of the packet, but
That was a different application line
page
a week or
53
two ago.
of the Dooley Lane application, page 53 is actually for Roosevelt Avenue.
Mine's got a big red X through it, so I don't know if that was be removed or not.
I didn't get it next to mine, I don't know.
No, I think that was from a previous meeting.
yeah, it was.
Okay, so disregard that.
Yeah, Madam Chair, this is Doug Critchfield. That was included in the packet by mistake. That should have applied to this one, so.
Should have applied to the Roosevelt or should have applied to the Dooley Lane?
Should have applied to Roosevelt.
Oh. Well, so should we read it into the record then, or what?
So Doug, this is Rodney. I'm just a little confused. So it should have applied to this specific application. They put the wrong project on their letter. Is that correct?
No, on the letter, it says proposed 22 lot development on Roosevelt Avenue.
Okay.
Ronnie, I think what happened is with everything that was coming in for Dooley Lane, I think that one got absorbed into the wrong hearing. So I think, Steve, I think we should read it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Steve.
I get paid extra to read this, right? Okay, it's from a Robert Buxton, and it was sent on May 20th, 10:55 a.m., and it was to planning and zoning staff. Subject, proposed 22 lot duplex Roosevelt Avenue. His comments are, quote, "To say I strongly oppose this project would be an understatement. There are so many reasons. First, just to address the traffic impact on Roosevelt, 48 units. Could potentially have 2 vehicles per unit, so you add 96 cars. This is his grammar too, by the way. You just approved the project less than half a mile down the street for 25 townhouses, which could potentially add 50 more vehicles to the road. So on a road that is already seeing increased traffic, you want to add potentially 150 cars to an area less than half a mile apart? For members of the city council who are unaware of this area of Nampa, I just want to paint a picture of high activity of kids on bikes, scooters, and walking. The project proposed is right across the street from a skate park and elementary school. The project already okayed is on the green belt, which is heavily used. Please reconsider this." Next paragraph. This proposal, with the one already approved, less than half a mile away, will bring a very established neighborhood, 73 units of transient people, meaning to say these types of domicile are for people who come and go, will have no real sense of community or neighborhood. I mentioned this project to a few of my friends yesterday. The first thing they said was crime increase, and I hope not. I live right on the Greenbelt, but it is a possibility. Please, council members, I plead with you not to consider this project. The impact on our neighborhoods and streets will be huge. These lots are not big. I obviously can't change the one you just okayed, but please rethink this. Traffic is already crazy. During the school year, you can hardly turn left trying to get onto Roosevelt as it is. You already gave us a storage unit we didn't want. Now you're adding townhomes and duplexes. I feel my property value going down as I write this. I can't imagine putting this across the street from an elementary school. It's just not safe for our community. This will impact the quality of mine and my neighbor's life on a daily basis, and not in a good way. Ask yourselves if you would want 73 units plopped down within a half a mile radius of your home. Thanks for reading this. Lori Buxton, 322 Middle Creek Drive.
Thank you for reading that, Steve.
You're quite welcome. And now she said, the last sentence was, ask yourself if you would want 73 units plopped down within a half a mile radius of your home. This project is within a quarter mile of my home, and I don't oppose it.
All right, is there any other testimony from the public? I would entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So moved. Steve.
Second, Brett.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor, Steve?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Adam? Did we lose Adam?
You at home?
I'm here. Aye.
Okay. Jeff?
Aye.
Brett?
Aye.
And Tom?
Aye.
Okay. Well, I live just at Roosevelt and Middleton, back behind the Walmart, and I don't see any problems with this coming in. We have such a housing shortage, and just because it's a duplex doesn't mean there's transients going to be around. Most renters that I have known are great people, and they just rent until they can afford to buy, or they don't want to have that responsibility, and they'll be happy renting the rest of their lives. I kind of take offense at that, because I rented for a very long time, and I was in a townhouse, and it was fine. So I don't see we're going to have the problems that person's foreshadowing.
Question, are these duplexes for rental, or are they actual townhouses like the last one we talked about?
If I remember right, I think the developer did say that they would be individually owned.
Individually owned units. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
Blake said that?
yeah.
Yes.
And it's the same developer for both units, in case anybody missed that.
Yeah. So it could potentially be individual owners that then rent them out, but it's not going to be a corporation that comes in and buys and then rents as rentals.
So I think that kind of addresses a little bit of the transient nature, some degree.
Yeah, you can get a lot more for your money having an attached house. So it's going to make home ownership affordable for people that maybe couldn't have done it. So I think that's great.
I think I had a chance to have a rebuttal.
So,
Oh, is this Blake?
Sorry, this is Blake.
Public hearing, and we didn't give them a chance to rebut from that public testimony.
Well, we did in the first one,
So-
not the second letter.
Yeah.
Right, the second testimony, or the second letter that was said. So you'll need to reopen the public hearing and then give anyone else a chance, not likely, but to testify.
Okay, so public hearing is reopened. Blake, did you have some words you wanted to add in?
Yeah, I just want to make sure we need to talk about the right product. This is a duplex subdivision. So there'll be 2 units per lot,
Right.
per taxable lot. It's not going to be developed where you can sell off one side of the duplex.
Okay, so owner will
one
own both sides.
Correct. One could certainly live in one side and rent out the other, or they could both sides be rented to for market rental rates. That's up to each individual owner. We foresee there being buyers who buy it to live in it and to rent out the other side, either for a family member or just as a first-time home and with an investment attached. To address the traffic, these infill lots actually help a lot with that because of our impact fees being able to go into the kitty to eventually widen the road, which will help. We also provide the sidewalk, which is essential in this school zone. And the RP zoning allows for quite a few more units than what I'm proposing. If you look at the current DA, the 48 units is just on half that's already approved that I could roll with essentially today. There's still another 2.5 acres there that units could be applied to. So that's a sizable difference in what is currently approved and what I'm going for as far as density. That's about it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I got a question for Blake.
Okay.
Hey, Blake, the elevations that you provided, how accurate are those? I mean, is that a real accurate representation of what they're going to look like? Because they look pretty simplified, not a lot of frills.
The structure is pretty simple. Yeah, I mean, the lots are only 60 foot wide, and we want 2-car garages, so you're not left with a lot of what you can do. It was a big deal to me to provide garages. It's more of a unique product than Nampa typically sees with investment properties or duplexes. But we'll have several different roof lines, and then the sidings there'll be mix and match of sidings and paint colors to make each one look unique.
Okay, so no stone, no brick, no nothing like that, just straight siding?
We'll probably do some stone, yeah. This was a pretty quick concept that we threw together that would fit on all these lots.
Yeah, that's why I asked the question. I didn't want to, stick you with something that wasn't meant to be an accurate representation. So, but I think that's kind of the concern is when you see something that's really stripped down like that, it kind of says that this is a kind of a low income product, and that's who you'd be catering to. And I think that becomes part of the worry that people might have when they see something like that. So that's why I asked the question, just to try and find out what the end product is supposed to be.
Yeah, well, these they're 3-bedroom, 2-bath with 2-car garage. And
How many square feet?
they're almost 2,600 for the total building. So split that in half, you're 1,200 and some odd square feet per side. They're going to retail for around 400, so it's not like a $200,000 product. It's an expensive product. The investors or owners are going to want to keep it nice. It's a lot of money.
Right.
Is there going to be an HOA in there?
Yeah, there will be. There's some common lots that will have to be maintained.
Okay. Any other questions for Blake?
Thanks, Blake.
I have
Okay,
a question. This is Jeff. Question probably for staff. Looking at, there's a crosswalk there at Roosevelt Park and the school at the end of that property, and then way down there on the other side, well, way down there, about a half mile or so, maybe a quarter of a mile. There's another crosswalk for the Greenbelt.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any plans, or would it be too much to put another crosswalk in the middle, or how does that determine engineering? Because there's going to be a lot of kids. I mean, you got a park there, you got an elementary school, you got a ton of neighborhoods and single-family homes. Plus, you have the green belt, so there will be an increase in foot traffic. I don't know if it's possible to put another crosswalk there in the middle, or is that just going to disrupt traffic so much on Roosevelt? Is the question.
Madam Chair, this is Steve. Since I live there, let me, if I may, address this question.
Okay.
At the project down by the Greenbelt, there is a hawk signal there now, or a light. And there's nothing in between. There's no other streets. So there's no people that would come out of their home and walk down there. There's at the back end of the other subdivisions. There's just fences along Roosevelt. And at the park itself, the skateboard park, there is already a crosswalk there.
It's not lighted though, it's not a hawk signal, it's just a painted crosswalk.
Correct. But during the school year, there's crossing guards in the morning and in the afternoon.
Okay.
Okay. Any other public hearing items that we need to address before we close the public hearing? Okay, I would entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
So I heard Steve first, and who seconded?
Brett.
Okay. All those in favor, Steve,
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Adam,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Okay, public hearing is closed. So that kind of changes my opinion a little bit. Since it's 2 units, it's not going to be wholly, you're going to have 50% rentals, more than likely. So, but I still think it would be a welcome. I have no problem living next to this. Does somebody want to make a motion?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we recommend to City Council this modification of development agreement, ordinance number 3884, from a 48 unit senior housing development to a 22 lot duplex, Roosevelt Village subdivision at 1910 West Roosevelt, for Blake Wolf Building Company, with all conditions of staff included.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Jeff, second by Brett. All those in favor, Steve,
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Adam,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
All right, it is going on to council, correct? Yes, recommendation to council. Okay, public hearing item number 3.
Yeah.
Annexation and zoning to RS4 at 406 West Dooley Lane. Do we have the applicant on the meeting?
This is William Mason with Mason and Associates. Our address is 924 3rd Street South here in Nampa.
All righty, why don't you tell us what you want to do, Mr. Mason?
We're looking at a piece of property that is 2.76 acres total, and it is surrounded on 3 sides by Dooley and South Canyon Street. The project is such a small piece and it's enclaved. We've asked for RS4 so that we can have some of the potential benefits that RS4 gives us for setbacks and the configurations of the lots, similar to what was done in Springbrook subdivision that you, as a commission, looked at earlier last year. I think you might have seen a phase one of that final plat come through just recently. I know there's a lot of questions on this project, and there were some questions that we were asked to maybe provide some answers to. I don't know if you want me to go through those now or if you want me to wait until later to answer the other questions that may be asked from the public.
If you want to address some major ones, that'd be fine.
Okay. So one of the questions was how many homes will be allowed on the two lots? The potential would be 30, but our proposal is not for 30 lots. It would be next to impossible with this piece of property to get 30 lots on it. We're looking at somewhere between 10 and 12 single-family residential lots. Another question was whether they would be townhomes or apartments, and that is not our intention at all. A single-family residential that's built to compatible type construction as Bay Hill with price ranges between $350,000 to $420,000 per home. The future access, we propose to come off of the north side of our property onto South Canyon Street. With the exception, there is an existing farmhouse out there that we're attempting to continue to leave in service, so it would continue to have the access that it has now off of Dooley. There's some questions about the traffic. This project is so small, traffic impact studies are required after a certain threshold, and you might be able to talk to your staff, engineering staff, about this, but the traffic study is not required on this and doesn't appear to be an issue. I know there's other issues in the area or issues the neighbors have discussed, so your staff may have other input on future city projects that would change some of those traffic conditions that people are worried about out there. And I think that's it for right now. Again, the main thing is to try to utilize a zone that the city has found is an acceptable zone in an enclaved area where you have limitations you can't overcome, such as the three sides of the property. And after staff gives their report, we have a conceptual plan that, oh, I'm sorry, it's already up there. So we put together a conceptual plan really quick last Friday, and that's showing right now in the presentation. That's just one of our options. It's average square footage on those lots is 7,013. There is some that are smaller, there is some that are bigger, but that average is 7,013 square feet.
What's the smallest lot?
The smallest lot is 4,605.
Okay.
And with this project, we would be dedicating 40 foot of right-of-way and a 25-foot landscape strip along Dooley. So that takes part of our property away, and you can see that with the very bottom of the page there. That bottom strip is the 40 feet, and then there's a 25-foot strip that's between lots 6 and 7 that we are proposing, just as concept plan for the landscaping. We could extend it to the east, but that existing farmhouse you can see is the box in lot 5. So we obviously can't put landscaping strips through a house if we're able to keep that house.
Is the plan to keep the house?
Yes, it is the plan. That house is the original homestead, and we would like to try to keep this property kind of, some of the old parts of the farm are still there, and there's some discussion about trying to use some of the materials, the timbers, to try to make a decorative entrance of some sort so that it remains on the site from 100 years ago. It'll be part of this community for as long as they can keep it maintained.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll probably have some questions for you after we hear from the staff. So.
Okay, thank you.
All righty. Thank you.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, good evening. Doug Critchfield, Principal Planner. So the total of this size of this proposal comprises 2 lots totaling 2.76 acres or 120,000 square feet. From an analysis standpoint, the north and the south have an RS6 single-family residential designation, and to the west. And then to the east, it's county residential, and as was mentioned by Mr. Mason, this is an enclaved parcel. The comprehensive plan shows this as a medium-density residential and is surrounded by medium density to the north with some commercial to the northeast, and to the south is low-density residential. The proposed zoning is RS4, meaning a minimum of 4,000 square foot lot. This is considered an infill development. There are utilities available to this location, 18-inch sewer on South Canyon, 12-inch water main on West Dooley, and an 8-inch pressure irrigation on West Dooley Lane. These things the attachments and the connections will have to be worked out with engineering. And the access as proposed by the applicant would be from South Canyon Street primarily and West Dooley with the remaining parcel, the farmhouse. This is a view of the site looking to the north. Actually, this is looking to the northeast, my apologies, from the corner of West Dooley Lane and South Canyon Street. So this is looking into the property. We've received very limited correspondence from the agencies in terms of any concerns that they may have. The Boise Project Board of Control mentioned that there was a valid water right and irrigation drainage ditches that crossed the property and serving the neighboring properties, and that those must remain unobstructed and protected by an appropriate easement, and that all storm drainage and street runoff must be retained on the site. We received several letters that are in your packet and emails of correspondence from area residents who are in opposition to this project, and we did have one member of the public who was neutral. Again, most of those have been placed in your staff report. We also did send you this afternoon some submittals that came in after the staff report. One that I wanted to mention to you that was not sent to you came in at 4:10 this afternoon. And this one is from Pamela and Tony Ranella at 2804 Pasco Lane. And Pamela said, I oppose the large number of homes that are proposed for this development and would prefer to see a zoning designation of RS6 or greater. My concerns stem from the preponderance of traffic in the area and the additional impacts that this development will have. I would prefer to see 4 homes on this property. Otherwise, you've received all of the other comments that we had received. The findings on this project, the first finding is that this requested annexation is enclaved and it adjoins city limits on its north, south, and west property lines. The second finding is that the area can be reasonably assumed to be available for the orderly development within the city limits, and having grown into this area and the adjacent lands having been annexed or developed. Third recommended finding is that the proposed RS4 zoning conforms with the city's 2040 comprehensive plan future land use map for medium density residential land use and is reasonably compatible with the adjacent existing RS6 zoning district and proposed land uses in the area. Number 4, the maximum allowable residential net density for this project is in the RS4 zone is 10.89 dwelling units per acre. That's net density. And 5th, the property owner requested annexation and zoning to RS4 for a single family residential subdivision. The comments and conditions of approval that were provided in your packet are listed. There are 2 additional conditions that are not stated in the staff report that staff would recommend adding to those conditions. One is due to the letter that we received after you received the staff report regarding the irrigation ditches and the water rights that were mentioned by the Boise Project Control. And secondly, we did not state in the staff report, but of course any other conditions that the Planning and Zoning Commission wishes to impose can be included in this proposal. And so with that, I'd be glad to take any questions.
Doug, this is Steve.
Go ahead.
The Bay Hill subdivision, what's the average lot size in there? Do you know?
I don't know what the average lot size is. The lots are anywhere apparently from about 1/3 to 1/2 an acre in size.
Yeah, and then the subdivision to the south appears to have much smaller sized lots. Do you know what they average down there?
Yeah, we looked at that this afternoon, and they're in the 7,000 square foot range. There's some static on the microphone or the speaker. I couldn't understand what you said. Apologize, Madam Chair. The average lot size for this development is to the south is somewhere in the 7,000 square foot range.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Doug, in one of the letters in the packet from former Mayor Bob Henry, he says that the Bay Hill lots range from 15,000 to 36,000 square feet. And that's from him. I don't know if that's verified, but that's what he says.
Okay, great.
Any other questions? Okay, let's go ahead and open the public hearing. I have several people signed up on the sign-up sheet to speak. I have Tarana and Bill Deal listed as opposed. Are you guys on? Do we have the deals?
It appears that they are muted. I saw them earlier come on and they're still muted. If they're on a phone, they need to hit *6 or hit unmute. It looks like they've unmuted themselves now.
Can you hear us, Peggy, Madam Chairman?
Yes, I hear you now.
Oh, thank you for letting us speak. Fran and I are here, and we've been in. We live at 435 West Island Court. Bill and Fran at Deal. We are not opposed to seeing Henry's farm be developed. We're just very concerned about the lot sizes and the impact on the adjoining property. And then, in addition to the traffic flow, we already are having quite a concern with Dooley Lane on 12th Avenue Road, adding that many additional homes. That property.
Okay, well, I'm having a hard time hearing you, so I'm going to just kind of summarize what you said, that you're concerned about the lot sizes and the traffic. Is that correct?
Yeah, more about the lot sizes than anything, we're not opposed to having homes built on that property. It's just if it was of a comparable size to other homes in the area.
And what, in your opinion, would be comparable?
I would say, 6 to 6,000 square lots.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what you said.
I said, I think a minimum would be 6,000 to 7,000 square foot lot.
6,000 to 7,000, okay.
Correct.
Okay.
I don't think it, just because the lot is a small infill lot, does not make it, the responding community problem for the development.
Okay. Did anybody have any questions for Mr. Deal? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next person we have is Patty Zimmerman. Patty, are you there? Rodney, do you know if Patty is in the call?
Looking right now, he's looking now.
Yeah, I don't see her. Oh, yes, she is there, and she's not showing as muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, Patty, thank you.
Okay.
Can you give us your name and address for the record, and then tell us what you're opposed to?
Okay, my name is Patty Zimmerman, and I live at 2802 South Bay Hill Court. And I'm opposed to the size of the lots over there. I was concerned about the construction type. But the developer explained that he expects the construction type to be similar to that's here at Bay Hill. Mm-hmm. I'm worried about the traffic. I've been concerned about that, but the original information that we received was that was going to be 30 residences in there. So that would impact our traffic a lot more than 10 residences would, I think. Also, we have the improvements on the canyon side. I'm not sure what that's supposed to look like. You talked about the improvements on Dooley as far as sidewalks and how that looks from the road. And it will come out onto. People will enter and exit from Canyon, is that right?
That's what he said.
Okay.
No. One house will exit on Dooley.
Yeah, with the existing house that's already there on Dooley exiting there in that existing driveway.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess that my main concern would be the size of the lots and the number of homes in there, and that probably would pretty much sum it up for me.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, the next speaker we have is Christine Graviet. I see her on their phone and not muted. Are you there, Christine?
Looks like she is muted. So Christine will need to hit *6 to unmute. There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Christine. Give us your name and address for the record, please.
Okay, Christine Gravier, 3008 South Island Drive, Nampa, Idaho 83636.
Okay.
Madam Chair, this is Rodney. Christine, would you please turn off your speakers on your computer, because we're getting an echo.
Okay, can you hear me now?
that's better.
Okay. So I just have the same concerns as my two other neighbors that you've already heard from. So the lot size and the increased traffic on Dooley.
Okay.
And if you're going to ask me what size I think those lots should be, I think they should be comparable to Bay Hill, so a third to a half of an acre.
Okay.
And that's it.
All right. Thank you, Christine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, our next person signed up is Lance Warnick from Aspen Engineers. Not for or against, it's undecided. Lance on.
With the detective right now, you find all those people.
By their phone number.
Yeah, his phone number's not listed. I can't look and see if he's on. Rodney, do you know if Lance was?
I don't see him on here.
Okay.
Doug, how is, I would just ask maybe Doug how Lance is involved here.
It wasn't stated when he signed up for it, and he didn't provide a return phone number. I did see him come on when the public hearing started, but I don't know whether he's still there.
Madam Chair, I believe Lance was the engineer of record on the public hearing item number 1, so that may have been a miscommunication on which item.
Okay. Yeah. We'll just go on to the next person. We have Don Christensen.
This is Don Christensen. You have me?
Yep, go ahead and give us your address for the record, please.
Okay, it's 3011 South Island Drive. Okay, and we did receive a letter from the city notifying us of this development proposal.
Yes.
I have several things. A quick question on the residential dwelling unit density information chart on the city's website. It does not have an RS4 on it. So I'm not sure where that designation comes from. Is there a change to that website?
I will ask that and we'll get more information here for you on that one.
RS6 is the lowest designation on that density web information chart.
Okay.
I guess a question for the developer, if I can ask it, what is the advantage to an RS4 versus the RS6 that he couldn't get with an RS6?
Okay.
If none of his lot sizes are, only one lot size is 4,000 and the average is 7, is it to get that one lot?
Well, we will ask him that before we close public hearing.
Okay. Several other questions related to the staff report.
Okay.
The engineer says they're not opposed to it, the engineering division, and they want West Dooley Lane with a 40-foot section line right away, and then a small piece of South Canyon Street with a right of way. Is there any requirements from the engineering department on South Canyon north side where they're looking at putting in the entrance to increase the right of way?
We'll ask city staff.
Okay. Other question, and this goes to the application itself. On the application, this appears to be a speculative zoning request, as Mr. Mason does not have control of the property based on the application and the information that we were provided in the packet. It says, please provide the following required documentation. I don't see that box was checked in terms of a warranty deed, proof of option, or earnest money agreement. Mr. Mason signs this application, but does not have anything in the application that says he has permission from Keene Enterprises to represent them. In the staff report, they say that the owner of the property is requesting this annexation, but the only thing I see is a letter of intent from Mason and Associates saying the owner is requesting it, but there is nothing from the owner themselves that says they want this. Mr. Mason says in his application that his interest in the property is other and that he's considering purchasing it to do a development. My question would be is if he doesn't get the RS4 designation, is he going to purchase the property? I consider the zoning request to be speculative, not deliberative in nature.
Okay, we can clarify that.
Okay. They reference in their letter of intent compact parcels, and it's a small development that would be challenging in other residential zones. So that goes back to my question of why RS4 versus RS6. Putting an RS4 in a substantially RX6 area would be considered spot zoning. You're just selectively picking one for the advantage of a developer versus the neighborhood and the community surrounding it. The adjacent property to the east could then also be RS4 as well as any of those other undeveloped pieces down the road, which increases the density considerably in that area.
Right.
Okay. Dooley Lane is a rural county road up until you get to the developments where there are sidewalks and curbs and wider roadways. We're funneling a lot of traffic into a county road between this development and 12th Avenue South, which does not provide for adequate increase at this point, unless the developer is willing to assist in the cost of widening and expanding the roadway up to 12th Avenue. A question for the city, planning-wise, is there plans to put in a light at Dooley and 12th Avenue as this area gets more and more developed, or are they going to wait till it's totally developed and traffic is a problem? And I'll be honest with you, a death at that intersection would get the city to move. But us bringing this forward to you ahead of time, we want to prevent those kind of tragedies.
We will ask that question.
Okay. Well, let's see. Let me see what else I have. Included in that application, there should, and I guess this is to the city planning and zoning staff, do they have a copy of those items that are under required documentation? A signed and notarized affidavit of legal interest, completed by the legal owner, original legal description of the property, and a legible word formatted document. All of these things to me would be considered part of the application packet based on the documents that we were provided, but none of that is included. Mr. Mason's conceptual drawing on the surface looks great because that was in response to comments that were submitted by the neighborhoods in the area. But again, that's only a conceptual drawing. There's nothing that says that it couldn't be something totally different than that in an actual development proposal.
Correct.
As much as they want to keep the farm intact, the farmhouse in the building, looking at that 40-foot setback, I would assume there would have to be a variance request because of the distance between that 40-foot setback and the residential house itself. So those are the gist of my comments at this point.
Okay. We will, when we go back to the applicant, we'll get you some answers from them in the city.
Okay, I have one other comment real quick.
Okay.
The addition that they had about the surface water retention and drainages being retained on site, we didn't see that in the packet, so I assume that was a comment from the water board outside of the comment period. So we had that same concern because a lot of the surface water runoff off Canyon runs through the Bay Hill subdivision infrastructure, and we would want to be ensured that none of the surface water runoff from that new subdivision would be coming into the Bay Hill facility and infrastructure.
Okay. Is that all?
Any comments?
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, the next person on our list is Rochelle Martin. And I had a note in here that she made some comments after the staff report, so I'm going to read this. Rochelle Martin at 439 West Island Court. She says, I'm opposed to this RS4 zoning and will fight it the whole way. RS4 will affect this whole street and all the neighborhoods negatively. There's ample land in Nampa without RS4 zoning and high density housing. Nampa doesn't want that. That's her comment that she sent in this morning at 9:44. So, Rodney, did you see her on at all?
I think I am here.
Oh, you are here, Rochelle. Okay. So, did you have something to add to your comment that I just read to into the public record?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So my name is Rochelle Martin. I'm at 439 West Island Court. My last neighbor did a great job of saying everything. The only thing I can see from his proposal is that he has no common area at all. And he's going to back right up to our subdivision that has a ton of common area. So all those kids that are in there are going to come to our subdivision. So I feel like they probably need to put a wall around our subdivision too, just to keep out their subdivision. But the traffic that they're going to cause, 12th and Dooley has accidents on it all the time. And it's just going to be more traffic, so there's going to need to be a light. And I think their lot should be about the same size as ours. It's been stated before, about 1/3 to a 1/2 acre. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, hi, this is
my husband.
Dr. Richard Martin, Rochelle's husband. In changing the zoning laws, we feel that any change in the zoning should be commensurate with the surrounding housing, and all of the lots that we have researched have lot sizes of at least 7,000 up to 1/3 of an acre. And this would be significantly disparate from all of the surrounding homes and would, I think, significantly impact the property values of the surrounding neighborhoods. And in my opinion, the profit of a developer should not supersede the people who bought in this neighborhood. With the current zoning standards in place, we have a reasonable expectation that those zoning standards will remain in effect.
Okay. Did you guys have any other comments?
No.
We're good.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next person on the list is Amy Vitek.
Hi.
Hi, Amy.
Hi. I live at 420 West Bay Hill Drive. I also share the same concerns. My cohorts have done a great job of explaining my concerns as well. I am concerned about the zoning change from RS6 to RS4. My concern with that is if there's not a limitation on the housing sizes available for an RS4, that would leave somebody open to be able to put 30 homes on that at some point in time, or 30. That would be a problem for this demographic, is my opinion. I also have concerns with what it would do to the traffic off Dooley and 12th. That is an extremely dangerous intersection already. as well as what it would do to Canyon, also for our access in and out of Canyon. Those are my main concerns with zoning this to an RS4 versus the RS6.
Okay. All right. We will get some answers from the applicant when we close the public hearing. Okay, the next person is Amy Coburn.
Hi, can you hear us?
Yes.
Hi, yeah, thank you.
So give us your name and address for the record.
Yes, this is Darren and Amy Coburn, living at 420 West Island Court.
Okay. Go ahead and tell us what you think.
So yeah, we were hoping that the council would consider requesting the developer to maintain the RS6 zoning. Our house, if you look at the map, our house faces this residence, the farmhouse, and we were wondering if there would be some consideration in asking the developer what setbacks or beautifications would he be putting in to Canyon Street, in addition to asking him to maintain it as a RS6 zone. Just like a lot of my neighbors, if it could be, ask him to have a lot size that is somewhere between the lots of Wycliffe, which is this development to the south, and Bay Hill. I think that would be doable for him to make some money on the project. And I know that that's what it all is all about. I have no objections to having the development, the property developed. It'd just be nice if it was something more in line with what's already in the surrounding area, for all the reasons that everybody has stated before me. Just a big old ditto.
All right, we got you on the record.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else that would like to speak for, against, or undecided about this proposal that's either there in person or on the team meeting? Rodney?
Yeah,
Nobody else is present?
I don't see anybody.
Okay.
Rob,
All right.
Rodney, this is Don Christensen. Can I add one more question?
No, we already, well, yeah, we haven't closed public hearing. What was your question?
Okay. Another question I had is what, given this development in the dead end aspect of Canyon Street, does the city envision a plan where Canyon would be put all the way through?
So you're asking if Canyon's going to be extended because of this subdivision?
Or this, based on the subdivision and then ultimately other developments in that area, there is a big chunk of property for sale between the commercial and the RS6 to the east.
We can ask the city.
Okay.
We'll ask the city.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think I'm going to start with the applicant. Mr. Mason, are you unmuted?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, hope you've been taking notes like I have. So, you said the traffic study is not necessary because of the small size of the subdivision, so I understand that. One of the questions was, what are you doing on the Canyon side for improvements along that north side of the property? Is it just going to be sidewalks, and is the whole subdivision going to be fences, or can you kind of give us a little bit of explanation on that?
Right now, the way the city code is set up, the impact fees will pay for widening if there's widening required on South Canyon. We will put in the sidewalk for future widening. And you might want to talk to Daniel about that and get his comments on it, because he has a better understanding of your impact fee than I do.
Okay.
I did want to make one comment. I do have the developer here if there's questions for him, and I apologize for not telling you that earlier. I just skipped my mind, so.
Okay. So the north side of the subdivision is just going to have curbs, gutters, and sidewalk?
No curb and gutter. Sidewalk is what's required, and under code, the city wants to take impact fees and widen that when appropriate.
Okay. So you have just one lot that's in the 4,000s, is that correct?
That is correct, and it's 4,600.
And what's the next smallest lot?
The next smallest lot is 5,400. 5,200.
I guess, how many lots do you have that are under 7,000 out of those 10?
3.
Okay, so why not go for the RS6 or RS7 and go for a condition, or, you know, what's the
RS6 zoning has conditions on it that the city council, when they approved RS4, recognized that the city council recognized that they would hinder development. For example, lot compatibility and lot setbacks can be reduced or eliminated in an RS4. And to make sure that a property that's enclaved like this is something that actually makes sense to develop, the city council determined that there needed to be relief on small enclaved areas like this, or they would never develop, and the city would never take this property in and get the tax base and impact fees for it.
Okay, so let me just make sure, because I'm having a hard time hearing you, so I want to restate this. So if you go with the RS4 zoning, there's certain conditions that allow you to reduce the setbacks. Is that what
That's correct, and lot compatibility. And RS4, the property width is the same as an RS6, and the required street frontage is the same as a RS6. The depth of the property is 10 feet less than an RS6, and the minimum square footage goes from 6,000 to 4,000.
Okay.
But that's not why we're not looking to try to get down to 4,000 square feet on all the lots.
Right. So do you own the property? Who is the legal owner?
I'm going to let our client with Keene Enterprises answer that.
Okay.
My name is Keene McHadad. My address is 2101 South Plateau Drive in Nampa. I own the property.
Okay. So you are being represented by Mr. Mason, and you're the one that's applying for this, or I'm trying to understand.
That's correct.
Okay. So it didn't say that you aren't the applicant on the listed on the application. It has Mr. Mason listed.
And my LLC, J. Keene Enterprises.
Okay. So, but it said it was other, not owner. So you own it right now. You're not in process of closing on it.
Correct. I own it. Yep.
Okay. All right. Let me see what else we have for. Mr. Mason, did you have any? I'm looking through my scribblings and I'm trying to see if there's any other questions I have for you. I think most everything I have written down is left for the city.
The only other thing that I would say is I know there was a comment made, we can show what we want on the concept plan, and once it's got an RS4 zone, we could come back with something else. The City Planning and Zoning Commission will also hear a preliminary plat on this. So if we come back with something that's substantially different, the neighbors would have a chance to look at that preliminary plat and comment on that preliminary plat at that time.
Okay. Yep. All right, Doug, I have some questions for you.
Okay.
and probably Daniel. So I'm just going to kind of go through here the questions they asked. Extending Canyon, we have no way of knowing if that's ever going to happen, but this subdivision isn't going to cause it.
No, this subdivision would not cause the extension of Canyon. The city plans do ultimately, we would ultimately want to see Canyon extended all the way across the drain or across the lateral there. We have the right-of-way in place to do such, and at some point in the future that would be done, but this development in and of itself will not trigger that extension.
Okay, and then the Canyon side improvements, Daniel, sidewalk is all that's required for this subdivision?
On Canyon, they will do curb, gutter, and sidewalk. On Dooley, they will only do sidewalk.
Okay.
Canyon in that location is a local roadway, and so under the new rules, they still have to do curb, gutter, and sidewalk.
Okay. So the applicant was a little confused about that. All right. So sidewalk only on Dooley, curb, gutter, and sidewalk on South Canyon Street.
Correct.
Okay. Traffic, is that in the long-range plans for having a signal?
So we just recently were able to get the state to add to the TIP, the Transportation Improvement Plan, the intersection of Locust and 12th, where 12th is the state road. It is something we typically would partner with them. We anticipate that they'll be able to move Locust and 12th up in the plans because it's a smaller project in the state's grand scheme of things. We have also been in discussions with them about Dooley, though that is not in their plans yet. I would say the number of homes they're proposing here is not significant enough that it would change the level of service at the intersection of Dooley and 12th.
Okay, and then maybe this is for Doug. The additional information that should have been with the application, there was that box wasn't checked or something like that. You have all the required documentation, I'm assuming.
We do, and it's public record. If somebody would like to come and view it at the city, they're welcome to, or they could submit a public records request. So we do have an affidavit of legal interest that was signed by the applicant and has the owner and the applicant's information there, as well as a warranty deed that the applicant or that the owner has the deed to the property. J. Keeney Enterprises LLC is the owner of the property.
Okay.
So that's in our file.
Okay. I think I've gone through all the questions unless I've missed something.
I would like to make one more comment, if I may. This is Keene McCadden of J. Keeney Enterprises, and I just want to, if I may, Madam Chairman. And
okay. We haven't closed the hearing yet, so go ahead.
Thank you. To not only you, but to those neighbors who are listening, I am a neighbor with them now, and I appreciate that. The goal here is not to build a monstrosity, make money, and run away. The goal here is to build something that actually adds to the value of surrounding homes, to add to the value of surrounding properties, and not to build something completely different, but to bridge and mimic, so to speak, what Bay Hill has, as much as is possible with the property that I own. So I completely understand that if I were doing the math alone, based on the flyer I received from the city, I would be opposed to this project. But my goal is not to build what has been rumored to be 30 homes. My goal is to build no more than 10 to 12, and that's it. Again, if I could speak to some of the concerns, I appreciate them, and they are not without warrant. But just to reiterate, I'm a neighbor here. I live in this community as well as they do, and I have to look them in the eye as well, and we'll be doing so on a daily basis. So anyway, I thank you for the time.
All right, thank you.
Madam Chairperson,
Who is speaking?
Rochelle Martin.
Okay, you've already testified.
But the thing is when he says that,
Speak, I'm sorry. You can't
he's got a
speak.
4,000
Sorry, I'm gonna have to
house.
mute you.
Why did he get to
So you cannot speak after we have let the applicant rebut. So I muted everyone. I'm sorry, that's a legal concern. We cannot break that rule. So I'm going to try to unmute you, Madam Chair.
I'm good.
Okay.
Okay.
Madam Chair, this is Jeff. There was one quick issue that Mr. Christensen, I think, brought up, and it was about the RS4 zoning. He had mentioned that he went to the website and wasn't able to find anything about that. So I think maybe planning and zoning can speak to this, but it was changed, I think, early last year, if I remember right, in 2019, to where it is that zoning law has been changed to add that RS4 designation. So I just want to make sure that we address that because that was an issue that was brought up by Mr. Christensen.
Yes, Madam Chair. And I'm sorry, I don't recognize who the commissioner was.
That was Jeff.
Oh, Jeff. Yes. I apologize. Yes, that was there was an ordinance, and that was discussed and passed last year. I don't know the exact dates on that information, but RS4 is now a legal designation, land use designation. So
you need to let whoever does the website know so they can get that put up there, I guess.
Yeah. Thank you.
Rodney raised his hand and said it was him.
And Doug, this is Brett, Madam Chair. Can you real quick just tell us the biggest difference between RS4 and RS6? Is it really just basically, I mean, obviously the 4,000 square foot, 6,000 square foot, but is the major points setbacks like they're talking about?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, if I could I defer to Rodney? You were heavily involved with this ordinance. Could you talk a little bit about the differences?
Actually, this, I'd be happy to speak to it, but this was being done right as I came into the city. So I'm not intimately familiar with all the changes, but they are correct in stating that some of the setback requirements, as well as some allowances for the density, of course, the lot sizes, and we had some conditions where it's an infill development, and they had some like topographical challenges, such as a stream bed or utility easements or something like that, that we could provide some allowances for setbacks and lot sizes, and a requirement. I believe there was something in the RS4 designation that they had to have a certain amount of open space. There was something related to that. And then if it's an infill development in the RS4, then you have to, and they have those topographical challenges, then they're allowed to have not have to do that open space to the same degree. I am sorry that's not any more detail, but like I said, we're still getting familiar with all of these that zoning code, and I wasn't involved in the details there at the time.
On the request,
Yeah.
Madam Chair, this is Don Christensen. I have a request to comment based on the new information provided about RS4.
Sorry, Madam Chair, you're going to have to unmute again.
Okay. We cannot take any more public testimony from anybody because we are talking to staff and the applicant at this time. That's the only people that we'll be discussing with.
Madam Chair, the only reason I request to comment is because I asked a question because there wasn't sufficient information provided to have an understanding of what RS4 meant.
Rodney?
I muted him. Doug, can you speak to any more details on the RS4?
You muted Doug too.
All right.
There we go.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
this is Matt.
Yes, Matt.
I just quickly went onto the city website, the city code, Title 10, Planning and Zoning, Chapter 8 about residential single family. And in the table that's provided there, property area, width, depth, frontage, and setback requirements, RS4 is accounted for.
Thank you. So it's on the website. Okay.
Okay, Madam Chair, I'm sorry, Doug Critchfield.
Mm-hmm.
On the September, I was looking for this in the code. So it says that there's exceptions. This is 10.8.6. This was done under ordinance number 4428 on April 15th, 2019. And it says about the RS4 zone property shall be allowed within single-family detached subdivisions platted after April 15th, 2019, in accordance with the rules set. And then it mentions RS4 as having a property width requirement of 50 feet, a mean property depth of 50 feet, and street frontage of 22 feet. And that is mentioned specifically in that ordinance. In terms of the setbacks and the question about setbacks, so I apologize, I'm just checking the code real quick here.
Thank you.
Yeah. So get a copy of that. If you'd permit me for a moment, I can look up that ordinance real quick. So I'm going to have to find the ordinance. So.
Okay, do we have any other questions of staff? Well, Doug looks that up.
Rodney, is that 4428, is that something that you have in a PDF in your file there?
which file are you referring to?
So you're on the K drive, under ordinances, I believe it is.
I'm not sure.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. It would just take me a little bit to find this information. I don't want to hold up this this hearing, but I'll look for this information, and I'll see if I can find it for you. It's going to take me a moment, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Rodney, can we close the public hearing and start our discussion while he looks up that and then hear from him at that time, or do we need to keep it open?
So, Madam Chair, you can close the public hearing. If there's any desire at all to hear from the public again, just remember that you have to open it up for the entire group to discuss again. So anybody who testified will have an opportunity to speak again, and then the applicant will need to rebut. So
Okay.
that's why I mute them, because I needed to make sure that that didn't occur without your direction.
Okay. I see one thing on my notes. Daniel, the surface water staying on site, that's a pretty standard thing in any subdivision, correct?
That is correct. They are required to retain their storm drainage on site. Now, any runoff, any historical irrigation drainage, they will be required to propagate through the site, but storm drainage they're required to maintain on site.
Okay.
While we're waiting, can I ask you a question? Sure. Between the 4 and the 6,000 square foot lots, was there anything other than what they're looking at now that would have precluded them not having a 6,000 foot lot?
Yes, Madam Chair, that was Steve. I hope you heard that.
Yes, I did.
So they did have at least one lot, maybe more, that were below that 6,000 square feet. So at least that condition was necessary to get the RS4.
Right. If we said that the density was too great and we wanted it to be RS6, it's a moot point because the lots all have to be 6. Those couple lots have to go away.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah. Or they have to be combined with others so that they're, you know, if they're 7,000 square foot lot average, then you increase the size of those smaller lots and decrease some of the bigger lots, you're still going to get an average of, 6,000 square foot lots. But the way he's configured it and the specifics of the site, he may have some challenges for doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Did we close? We didn't close the public hearing, correct?
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm waiting for Doug to do some research.
So, Madam Chair, you're welcome to ask the applicant those questions as well. Still, I mean, if that.
Madam Chair, I have found the ordinance. So if you have specific questions, I'm looking through it now. If you have specific questions about the zoning, let me know what they are.
Daniel, one of the questions that we were looking at is the setbacks in the RS4, the difference between RS4 and RS6.
Okay, setbacks. So it is in the RS4 zone, they are exempt from the lot averaging. That would be one significant change going from an RS6 to RS4 to an RS6. You would have to average an 8,000 square foot average for lots. The setbacks, front, side, and rear yard setbacks, and minimum lot width pertinent to master community building lots shall be as pertinent to the RS district standards unless approved by council. So their setbacks, it appears, if I'm reading that correctly, would be the same as an RS district. So that would be a 5 and 5, 20 in the front and 8 in the rear. Is that
5 in the rear.
5 in the rear.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, I just confirmed that with Christie as well. It sounds like the setbacks are not any different unless there's topographical or easements that are in the way that make it difficult to build some of these, and they're in an infill development.
So this is an infill development. So do they have to prove that there's an issue that would preclude them from having these setbacks? Is that an appeal process?
They requested a change to the setbacks.
They did request, you say?
No, am I incorrect, Doug? I didn't remember seeing any request to modify the setbacks.
No, there was no request.
And that would likely come with any plat application, and would have to be heard by you and city council if they were requested.
Okay.
Yeah. And Madam Chair, I have part of the ordinance here. Christie provided us. It does state that exceptions are allowed. An exception to open space requirements may be granted for residents infill subdivisions meeting any of the following criteria. First, it's bounded by a public walkway, drain, canal, trail, or non-residential improved property. B, it requires the installation of a sewer lift station. C, has topography that inhibits its full use in platting. And E, is surrounded by properties or plats having no open space. And then E, provides a benefit to the city, providing continuity of utility services, street right-of-way, or other benefits deemed needed. So again, the exception there is to the open space requirement that is in the RS4 zoning code.
So they don't have to have common area if they do RS4.
They can have exceptions to that common area.
Right, they can request an exception. Okay. All right, does anybody else have any questions for staff? I would entertain a motion for closed public hearing.
Well, Steve.
Second, Jeff.
All right. All those in favor, Steve?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Brett?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Okay, public hearing is closed. What do you guys want to do?
Well, if I can stick my 2 cents worth in here first, my name is Steve. I think from what the neighbors have said and from the size of the lots, I understand that they have some limitations with 4, but I would rather see the RS6 than I would an RS4. My opinion.
It's currently RS6, right, Rodney?
No.
It's not.
It's not.
Oh, it's county.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
It's not zoned. Yeah.
There, Madam Chair, I forgot. There was a question about spot zoning, and I just thought maybe you should address that. Spot zoning is specifically when it doesn't match our comprehensive plan and it's inconsistent with the zoning around it. So specifically, this designation of RS4 does match our comprehensive plan.
Right. But the density is, the big question is not whether it matches the comprehensive plan. 4 and 6 are both in the plan. Correct. I'm saying the density is too great with the 4, and I'd rather see the 6. And I think that's what the neighbors would rather see.
And that's valid. I just wanted to make sure that it's clear that the legal definition of spot zoning is that it doesn't match our comprehensive plan, and this one does.
Thank you, Rodney.
Madam Chair, I think that Rodney's point is taken, and I think maybe it's the individual who commented and said that this was a case of spot zoning. I think the intent or what he was intending to say, I get that, and I think that goes along with what Steve has said, that the RS4 is just a little incompatible with the other homes around it. Now, I think, did Doug say that the average about lot size south of this place was 6,000? Did anybody else hear that? Is that correct?
It's zoned RS6.
Okay.
South of it.
I too think that the RS4, I think it's just a little too much on that spot for myself.
I tend to agree. This is Jeff, Madam Chair. What I really appreciate is the citizens coming out and voicing their opinion. I always love it when the public gets involved, because that's what this is for, public hearings. And, I've been thinking, as I've been listening to this public hearing, I've been thinking that, we need to do what is in the best interest of the city. Well, that doesn't mean that it's one or two or a group of people. It's the citizens, it's the public that steps up, and we should be cognizant of their wishes and their desires. I think that this small space is too small for an RS4 zoning. I think it should be left at RS6. It's compatible with the surrounding areas. Yes, it might be, you lose a lot or 2 or 3 maybe in this area. I appreciate the infill zoning or the infill potential there, but also realize that this is just an annexation public hearing too. It's not, we don't know what it's going to look like, and that comes with the preliminary plat and all that other kind of stuff, and more opportunity for the citizens to step up and voice their concerns. So I disagree with the RS4 zoning. I am more inclined to stay at RS6 if when we go to vote.
Thank you. Anybody else want to express their opinion?
Peggy, is this just a yay or a nay? Or are we still going to move forward with the annexation and zone it what we think is appropriate, or do we need to know what the owner wants to do? I'm not sure what we do there.
Rodney, if they make a motion for RS6 and vote and annex it as RS6, is that reasonable, or is it just a flat no, we don't want to do this?
So this is Madam Chair, this is a recommendation to City Council. So you can recommend annexation and zoning to RS6, and then the applicant will need to address that when they go before City Council.
So they can say, yeah, we agree with planning and zoning, or no, and plead their case to them for RS4.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Rodney, this is Jeff again. So, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Question for Rodney. On that note, conditions of staff, did it change if we were to recommend to an RS6 to City Council? Do the conditions of staff in the report change at all with that designation?
So, Madam Chair, Rodney again. What we typically have done is we provide a staff recommendation based on the code. So the conditions are related to the code.
So RS4 then?
So we would respond to the RS4, but we would also put in our staff report the commission's recommendation. So they have to look at both of those things when they make their determination.
Okay.
Thank you. So it sounds like somebody might want to make a motion.
Okay. Madam Chair, I'll make a motion. I make a motion that we deny a recommendation to City Council that we deny the annexation and zoning to RS4 for single-family residential 4,000 square foot lot at 406 West Dooley Lane. or a small single-family home development for Mason and Associates Incorporated, and instead, we make include in that recommendation to City Council annexation and zoning to RS6, which would maintain that compatibility with the surrounding area, and potentially further development to the east of that property also.
Second that, Steve.
Okay, so Jeff and Steve did the motions. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, Steve?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Brett?
Aye.
And Tom?
Aye.
Okay, so it's going to City Council with a recommendation for RS6 versus RS4. So there'll be a chance for public hearing at that time to express the fors and against all over again. So anybody that testified here today, you have a chance to testify again at the City Council meeting in approximately 4 weeks. So there'll be a public notice that goes out. So just kind of pay attention to that. Thank you. All right, public hearing number 4, conditional use permit for professional office in a historic building at 815 11th Avenue South. Do we have Chris and Tammy Castile?
Hello, this is Chris Castile and Tammy Castile.
Yay, give us your address for the record.
Oh, we are at 22318 Blessinger Road in Star, Idaho, 83669.
Okay, tell us what you want to do with this historic property.
Well, basically what we're doing is buying the person that has the property now got a conditional use permit years ago to operate a healthcare agency out of it, and basically just the professional office part. There's not that's just the there's no patient staying there. It's just doing paperwork and things of that nature. And we are buying the property and the business, and wish to conduct the business the same as she's doing with no changes at all, because she does the same thing that we do with our other home healthcare agencies and other areas of Boise. So there would be no difference in the use of the building that other than it's being used now. There'd be no difference.
The conditional use permit doesn't cross over to the new owner, so you have to apply. Yes. Okay. So
yes.
Just office for a home health care agency. Okay. All right. Okay. I think that we got that pretty straight. We'll hear from staff, and if we have some questions, then we'll come back to you at the end of that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, Madam Chair, this is Rodney Ashby, Planning Director. You have the application before you on the screen, and I've highlighted 815 11th Avenue on the visual here. This really is a pretty simple one. We saved the best for last.
Yay!
So this is, as he stated, it's pretty straightforward. We've because it's a historic building. I'll move through this pretty quickly. Because it's a historic building, they are allowed to have some exceptions to the land uses that are typically listed for that zoning district. So it's in a high density residential district on our comprehensive plan. In the zoning map, it's an RML or limited multifamily residential. There's there's single family homes that are in the immediate area. To the southeast, there's duplexes. To the east, there are commercial, including Albertsons. I think I can zoom in here a little bit closer so you can see the Albertsons on the screen there to your top right, and commercial retail all along 12th Avenue there. So it's it's right on the edge of a single family area, right on the edge of commercial and single family, with a few higher density developments in the immediate area. So parcel size is about 11,000 square feet. There's utilities and access is through the alley and off of 11th Avenue South. I placed a site plan that they submitted in the application on the screen. This is the existing conditions. Nothing's going to change. The sign, they will just replace the wording on it so that it reflects the new name of the business, but everything else it will stay the same. So applicable regulations, as I mentioned, there's some allowances for some diversions from the list of land uses that are permitted when it's a historically significant building, and this building has been designated as historic. And of course, your typical requirements for a conditional use permit. The last applicant received a conditional use permit for this same purpose, but it stayed with that property owner, and that was listed in the conditional use permit.
Yeah.
So you will need to just go through quickly these conditions, or these. This is the basis for approval or denial. Is it compatible with, and will it not adversely affect the livability or appropriate development of the abutting properties in the surrounding neighborhood? And then a list of some things to consider as you determine that. And number two is, will it provide a convenient and functional living, working, shopping, or civic environment, and will be as attractive as the nature of the use and its location and setting warrants? And then three, will it enhance the successful operation of the surrounding area in its basic community functions, or will provide an essential service to the community or region?
Rodney, did we ever have any complaints with the prior owners?
We did not.
Okay.
Not that we could find.
Okay, great.
Their correspondence was very, very little. I didn't even list it here, but it's in your packet, just from the agencies basically saying no opposition. So again, staff finds that that it is a reasonable request, and it's compliant with city codes, what they're requesting to do. I've already mentioned that just the name of the owners and the name of the business are changing, and then you are permitted to grant a conditional use permit if you find those bases for approval positive. So these are the recommended findings. They're in your staff report. Recommended conditions, they are also in your staff report. I'm not going to highlight those. Basically, they're the same as what we did for the previous owner. And then I have placed a possible motion on the screen and would stand for questions.
Does anybody have any questions of staff or the applicant?
Madam Chair, this is Jeff. Just a quick question for the applicant. You're aware of the staff conditions. I just happened to see business operating hours 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. So you're aware of all those conditions?
I'm sorry, I was trying to unmute my phone. Could you ask that question again?
Yeah, absolutely. So I just wanted to make sure that you're aware of the recommended conditions from staff. I noticed one in here about business hours being between 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. So I just want to make sure that you're aware of all those conditions.
I am aware of them and agree to them, yes.
Good, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay, if there's no other questions, I would entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So moved, Steve.
We have a second. I'm sorry, I didn't hear who that was.
Yeah.
Jeff.
Okay, moved by Steve, second by Jeff. All those in favor to close public hearing? Steve?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Brett?
Aye.
And Tom?
Aye.
Okay.
Madam Chair, This is Steve. I make a motion we approve the conditional use permit for a professional office in the historic building in the RML zoning district, 815 11th Avenue South, for Chris and Tammy Castile, with all recommended findings and conditions of staff.
Second.
Is that Matt?
Yes.
Okay, moved by Steve, second by Matt. All those in favor, Steve?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Brett?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Okay, that was the last item. I guess we are done for this meeting on the 26th. We're adjourned.